During a team meeting, my mom FaceTimed me out of nowhere. She said she missed me. She just wanted to see my face. Mr. Sterling, my boss snapped at me. Cut the noise. We're in the middle of a briefing. I had to decline the call. I texted mom in a meeting. Call you after work. But she wouldn't listen. The phone buzzed again and again. She kept sending video requests, typing that she missed me so much, begging for just one look. I was reaching to silence it when Sterling lost it. I snatched my phone and held it onto the concrete floor and screamed. I said, cut the noise. The screen shattered. The phone went black. I didn't dare make a sound. When the meeting ended, Darling tossed a couple of $100 bills on the ground. He looked at me with cold, dead eyes. Fix it. If it buzzes in my meeting again, you're fired. I picked up the phone. It was cracked, but it wasn't dead. It had just rebounded. As soon as it turned on, 20 missed calls. I opened my messages. Mom had sent a string of voice notes. Hello baby. Mama misses you. Are they treating you okay out there? You tried okay. Mama feels heavy. Like I can't catch my breath. Baby, don't cry. Mama loves you so much. I don't make it. They'll watch over you from heaven. My mind went blank. The world stopped spinning. Then a text from Pops popped up. Get the first bus home. Your mother's gone. The air in the trailer was thick with the scent of Lily's iron and the stale smell of old upholstery. My mother lay there, a pale shadow of the woman who had once fought the world for me. She looked like she was carved from candle wax, fragile enough to shatter if the wind blew too hard. And then there was Sterling. He stood in the narrow kitchen, his designer shoes clicking on the cracked linoleum. He reached for the coffee tin, the one with the $5,000. My mother's life's blood. The money she'd sweated for, dollar by dollar, just to give me a chance at a world that didn't smell like wood smoke and failure. $5,000, Sterling repeated, his voice oily with greed. That covers the door, the fees, and my travel time. Consider us even, Caleb. I'm a generous man. He didn't see me move. No one did. In the city, I was a desk jockey, a sheep in a cheap suit. But in the hollow, I was a ghost made of muscle and bad memories. I didn't use the axe. I used my hands. I grabbed Sterling's wrist just as his fingers touched the lid of the tin. The bones in his arm groaned. He looked at me, and for the first time he saw the man my mother had been so afraid of. Not the son she loved, but the menace the neighbors had whispered about. Don't touch it, I said. The words didn't feel like they came from my throat. They came from the floorboards, from the dirt under the trailer. Sterling's face went white. Let go. You thugs, do something. The bald one, the biker with the cigarette spark on his cheek, lunged. He was big, but he was slow. He moved like a man who was used to bullying people who were afraid to hit back. I wasn't afraid. I was empty. I stepped inside his reach, my elbow connecting with his jaw with a sound like a dry branch snapping. He didn't even grunt. He just folded, his head hitting the edge of the kitchen table before he hit the floor. The other four stayed back. They saw my eyes. There was no rage there, just a cold, infinite void. Get out. I told them. Sterling was hyperventilating, his arm still pinned in my grip. You're dead, Miller. You hit me. I have this on camera. He held up his phone. I took it from his hand. I didn't smash it. I put it in his pocket. I'm going to bury my mother, I said, leaning in so close he could smell the grief on me. If you're still in the hollow when the sun goes down, I'll bury you next to her. I shoved him toward the door. He stumbled over his own man, scrambling out into the dirt yard. The thugs followed, dragging their unconscious leader by his boots. This isn't over. Sterling screamed from the safety of his SUV. I'll call the cops. You're going back to the cage. I didn't answer. I went back to the bed. I knelt down and took Mama's hand. It was cold. I stayed there until the silence of the trailer felt like a physical weight, pressing the breath out of my lungs. The news traveled through the hollow like a wildfire. The city boy had come to bully a funeral. By the time the sun started to dip, the dirt road was lined with people. The neighbors who had locked their doors when I arrived were now standing on their porches. They weren't holding casserole dishes. They were holding iron pipes, shotguns, and heavy-duty wrenches. Pop sat on the porch, his old eyes fixed on the horizon. They won't come back tonight, son, he said. They're cowards. Cowards wait for the law to do their dirty work. I don't care about the law, I said, stepping out into the evening air. My knuckles were bruised, and my heart felt like it was made of lead. Around 9 p.m., a single set of headlights appeared. It wasn't the cops. It was an old, beat-up sedan. Caleb, my coworker from the city, climbed out. He looked terrified. Caleb, he whispered, running up to the porch. You gotta go. Now. Sterling didn't call the local cops. He called a fixer. Some guy he uses to make people disappear. They're coming for the money, and they're coming to make sure you never testify about the contracts. I looked at him. Why are you here, Caleb? He looked down at his shoes. You were the only one who didn't laugh when he made me clean the bathrooms. And, your mom was nice to me when she called the office. She thought I was your friend. He handed me a manila envelope. The contracts. The real ones. The ones that show he's been skimming Social Security and insurance from every guy in the warehouse. It's enough to put him away for 40 years. I took the envelope. Thanks, Caleb. Now get out of here. If you're seen with me, you're done. I was already done the day I took that job, he said, turning back to his car. Bury her well, man. The morning of the funeral was gray and heavy. We didn't have a church. We didn't have a fancy hearse. We had a flatbed truck and a hole in the ground under the big oak tree where Mama used to sit when the summer heat got too bad. The entire hollow showed up. People I hadn't seen in a decade walked up and put a hand on my shoulder. They didn't say much. Out here, talk is cheap. They brought stones to mark the grave. They brought jars of moonshine to dull the edge of the day. As we lowered the casket, a black SUV pulled up at the edge of the property. Sterling was in the passenger seat, his face bruised and swollen. Beside him was a man in a suit that cost more than the trailer. A man with the eyes of a shark. They didn't get out. They just watched. A reminder. I ignored them. I picked up the first handful of dirt. I'm sorry, Mom, I thought. I tried to be the man you wanted. I tried to stay soft. But the world only wants the wolf. When the last shovelful was thrown, I turned toward the SUV. I walked through the crowd of neighbors. They parted from me like a dark sea. I stopped 10 feet from the car. The window rolled down. The contracts, Caleb, the shark-eyed man said. Give them back, and we leave your father alone. We leave this dump alone. You go to jail for the door and the assault, do 3 years, and we call it a day. Sterling leaned over, his voice a hiss. I want my $5 grand too. And I want you to crawl. I reached into my pocket. I pulled out my phone, the cracked one. I hit play on a voice note. It was Mama's voice. Mama loves you. Be a good man. My mother died because she was waiting for a call I couldn't answer because you smashed my phone. I said, my voice steady. She spent her last moments wondering if her son was okay. I looked at the shark-eyed man. You're the fixer? Fix this. I pulled the manila envelope from my belt and dropped it into the hands of the man standing next to me, the local sheriff, who had been standing in the back of the funeral crowd. He wasn't city slick, but he was a hollow boy, and he'd known my mother since they were in diapers. The sheriff looked at the shark-eyed man. Mister, you're on private property during a burial. And according to these papers, you're part of a racketeering ring that's been robbing my constituents. The SUV's engine revved. Don't, the sheriff said as 30 men raised their hunting rifles. Sterling didn't go down easy. Money has a way of buying time. But money couldn't buy off the hollow. The fixer was a pro. He realized the tide had turned and stayed silent. Sterling, however, began to unravel. He spent a week in the county jail, screaming about his rights, while the FBI moved into his city offices. Caleb's papers were the key. They found the training fees were a front for a massive money laundering operation. They found the damages were a way to keep employees in debt bondage. I stayed in the hollow. I helped Pops fix the roof. I used the $5 grand to buy a small headstone. Nothing flashy, just gray granite. Alma Miller. She loved her son. A month later, I went back to the city. Not for a job. For a visit. I walked into the office building. The glass door I'd smashed had been replaced. The lobby was quiet. Sterling was out on bail, pending a federal trial. He was sitting in his corner office, staring at a bottle of scotch. He looked 20 years older. His empire was a skeleton. I walked in. No security stopped me. There was no one left to pay. Sterling looked up, his eyes bloodshot. You ruined me. I was the sky. I was the law. You were a man who forgot that everyone has a mother, I said. I placed a small, dented coffee tin on his desk. What's this? He asked, his voice trembling. It's empty, I said. Just like you. I spent the $5 grand on her stone. But I thought you should have the tin. So you remember what you tried to steal. He looked at the tin. And then he started to cry. Not the fake tears of a bully, but the pathetic, hollow sobbing of a man who realized he had nothing left to negotiate with. I walked out. I didn't look back at the glass. I didn't look back at the city. I moved back to the hollow for good. We started a small garden where the SUV had parked. We fixed up the old trailers for the kids whose parents were still in the city, working off their own debts. I still have a temper. I still have the hands of a brawler. But now, when I feel the rage rising, I listen to that last voice note. Baby, don't cry. I'm not a menace anymore. I'm just a man who knows the price of a phone call. The hollow is still forgotten by the world. And the dirt roads are still red. But at night, when the wind blows through the oak tree on the hill, it doesn't sound like a heavy breath. It sounds like a whisper. I finally found a way to make her rest. I stared at the cracked screen, my hand shaking so hard I nearly dropped it. Again, I tried to call Pops. When he answered, my throat felt like it was stuffed with broken glass. It hurt to speak. Pops was broken, but he tried to calm me down. Don't panic, son. Just breathe. But I couldn't breathe. I couldn't form sentences. I just stuttered, choking on tears. What do I do, Pops? I don't have a mama anymore. I collapsed on the office floor, sobbing uncontrollably. Sterling stormed back into the conference room. What is wrong with you crying like a baby in the middle of the day? I have clients in my office. My mom, I choked out. My mom is gone. Sterling paused for a second, then sneered, your mom died. Not mine. I'm closing a deal. You want to cry? Take it. Outside he muttered something about bad luck and slammed the door. I wiped my face, adrenaline mixing with grief. I chased him out and grabbed his arm. I need bereavement leave. Going home now. Sterling looked at me like I was a cockroach. You're taking leave during our busiest season. Fine. Bring me a death certificate first. She just passed, I said, my voice trembling. There is no certificate yet. I need to go. Then have your family send a picture of the body. I froze. I thought I misheard him. Excuse me, video call, he said, checking his watch. Put a mirror under her nose. No folk. After 2 minutes. He's dead. I'm Buse. Don't waste my time. He waved me off and turned to walk away. I grabbed his suit jacket and yanked him back hard. The office went silent. Everyone stared. Clenched my fist. every muscle in my body screaming to smash his face in. Sterling pointed a finger in my face. Let go. Policy is policy. I swallowed the rage. I had to. If I hit him now, the cops would come. If I got locked up and missed the funeral, I wouldn't see Mama one last time. I let go. Sterling smirked, thinking I was weak. Coward. I'll bark no bite. This is a business, not a daycare. I gritted my teeth, not asking for leave. I quit. I shoved past him, wiping my eyes and headed for the door. But this time Sterling grabbed my arm. Quitting. Fine. Pay the damages first. Stopped. What damages? Company policy. He sneered. You've been here less than a year. Breach of contract. Training fees. Equipment fees. Comes out to $3,000. Pay up, then you can go. I was confused. Training? I started working the minute I walked in the door. I can hear is the training. He said smoothly. You're learning skills that cost money. I looked at him, disbelief washing over me. My mother just passed away and you're trying to shake me down? He shrugged. Rules are rules. You either pay, or you get on your knees and apologize for the destruction. Once your family proves she's a corpse, I'll give you 1 day off. I couldn't believe a human being could be this vile. Sterling leaned in close, his voice a venomous whisper in my house. You don't disrespect me. If I don't break you today, how do I manage the rest of these sheep? Everyone has problems. Mom croaking isn't an excuse to inconvenience me. He glared at me then walked into his office, telling the security guard to lock the main doors. He doesn't leave until he pays. God. A big guy who followed orders blindly moved to block the exit. I walked toward the glass doors. The guard stepped up. I didn't slow down. I kicked the fire safety box on the wall. Crash. I grabbed the red emergency axe. My chest was heaving. I tried to calm down. I thought of Mama. She hated violence. I hated when I fought. The guard was trembling now. I remembered how Mama used to visit the houses of the kids. I fought, begging their parents not to call the cops, paying for their medical bills with money she didn't have. She was gone. Now I had to see her. I couldn't go to jail. I ignored the garden stone, the axe ASH. The tempered glass of the mauler shattered into a million diamonds. Dropped the axe and walked out. Behind me, Sterling was screaming. He chased me to the sidewalk, face red with fury. You son of a shishi. You walk away, but you're done. I turned around, my eyes were cold. If I didn't have to see my mother, you'd be ending today, he scoffed. Tough guy. You think I'm scared? I didn't answer. I got in a cab. On the way to the bus station, a co-worker called Caleb. You're screwed. Sterling is furious. He says you owe for the door and the fees. He's going to sue. Let him. I said. This contract is illegal. No judge will enforce it. It's not about the law. The co-worker whispered. Stalling targets. Guys like us from the sticks. No college, desperate. It's his business model. You made him look weak. If he doesn't crush you, the scam falls apart. He's calling in favors, the co-worker added. He pulled your address from nature files. He's bringing guys to your place. Who wants to make an example out of you? Okay, I said. I hung up. I opened Mama's chat. I played her last voice note again. If I don't make it, they'll watch over you. I listened to her voice sitting in the back of a Greyhound bus, crying like a lost child, minus sob. A text came in from Sterling. Wait there, trash. I'm going to send you to meet your mother. I made it back to the hollow. The old folks were sitting on their porches when they saw me. The chatter stopped. They went inside. As I walked down the dirt road, blinds were drawn, doors were locked. They hated me here. My hands had too much red on them from the old days. I was one of the left minus behind kids. My folks went to the city to work off debts, leaving me with my grandparents in this forgotten corner of the state. Kids without parents get bullied. That's the law of the playground. But I was born mean. I never backed down. Every kid who tried me ended up in the clinic. The neighbors called me a menace. They stormed my grandparents' house demanding justice. Mama had to come back. She spent every dime she saved to bailing me out, paying for stitches and broken teeth. She hugged me while I was still covered in dirt. She cried, "Are you crying because we're broke?" I had asked her, acting tough. "I'm crying because my baby is hurting." She wailed. That was the day I changed. I swallowed my temper. I went to the city. I wanted to make money so she could rest. But she didn't get to rest. I wiped my eyes. I ignored the dirty looks from the neighbors. I rounded the corner to my dad's trailer. I stopped. A black SUV was parked in the yard. Sterling was there, and he wasn't alone. He had 5 guys with him, bikers, roughnecks. My dad was bowing to them, apologizing. Sterling poked my dad in the chest. "Who do you think you are? Your son caused the damage. Yo son pays." I didn't expect him to beat me here. But I took the bus, drove a luxury car on the highway. "Sir." My dad pleaded. "My boy has a temper. I'm sorry, but my wife, she's laying inside. Please. Out of respect for the dead, can we talk after the funeral? Your wife kicked the bucket." "Not mine," Sterling shouted. "Good riddance. I say, raising a piece of trash like your son." She checked out early. To avoid the shame, I walked toward them. "There he is." Sterling pointed. The thug circled me. "My mother is inside," I said, my voice low. "I don't want trouble right now." The leader of the thugs, a guy with a neck tattoo and a shaved head, stepped forward. He blew cigarette smoke in my face. "What if I want trouble?" Sterling puffed up his chest. He had his army now. He tapped my sternum hard. "You were real loud in the office. Caleb said you were gonna end me. I looked at the thugs, then at Sterling. Let me light a candle for my mom. That's all I asked. I don't have time for your voodoo. Sterling spat, pulled out his phone and started recording. Here's the deal. You disrespected me. You're gonna kneel down right here and beg for forgiveness. You're gonna admit you owe me the money. My dad stepped in, sir. Please. His mother just passed asking him to kneel. It ain't right? Sterling laughed. He gestured to his hired muscle. I paid these gentlemen good money to come out to this dump. Do you think I care about what's right? I'm bullying you because I can. My dad looked at me, eyes pleading. See, Sterling Grant. Even your old man is a coward. I'm begging him not to hurt you. Dad said honestly. Please just go. If you push him, you're gonna get hurt. Sterling fick meine shivered. Boo. I'm shaking. Your boy gonna beat me up. He's the only one his mama could control. Dad whispered. The bald thug flicked his cigarette, but at me. It hit my cheeks, sparks stinging my skin. He grabbed a handful of my hair. Your daddy talks big. Come on. Then hurt me. I took a deep breath. Pops, is the hearse coming? Yeah, Dad whispered. Soon I nodded. I shoved the thug backward and walked into the trailer. Hey, Sterling screamed. I'm talking to you, dirtbag. I ignored him. My heart was breaking. I walked into the bedroom. There she was. She looked peaceful. Just sleeping. Her hands were cold. I knelt beside her. Just wanted you to have a good life, Mama. Why did I take that job? Why wasn't I here? Dad came in. She wanted to talk to you. Your phone was off. I recorded it. He held up his phone on the screen. Mama looked frail. Every breath was a struggle. Caleb. Eat well, dress warm. I tried to save for your wedding. But I'm useless. I only saved $5,000. She wiped her eyes on the screen. It's in the coffee tin under the sink. Buy a car. Find a nice girl. Mama loves you. Suddenly, Sterling burst into the room. He pointed at the cupboard under the sink. $5,000, you heard it. That's my compensation. I turned. Eyes burning. I am listening to my mother's last words. Shut up.